We're going to go over transforming sine waves. Now, we've looked at a sine wave before, and on a graph that's measured in the x-axis in degrees, this is what it looks like. We talked about our 5 major points. What are they? To help us remember how to graph this wave. Okay, so we have 0 and 0.
90 and 1.
90 and 1. No, I don't talk about the peaks and the troughs.
180 and 0.
Yes, I want the actual coordinates that are out.
-1.
Perfect. And what's the last one?
360 and 0.
Good. 360 and 0. Good. These will help us graph it. Once we know those 5, it's pretty easy to draw the wave from there. Now, we're going to talk about how this wave, and here's the function that we're going to learn in the end. We're going to specifically focus on when we have numbers put inside the bracket with x, and when we have a number outside of the function, known as d. Okay? Now, with a quadratic, we know that anything, actually, you know what? Let's focus on the d one first. Outside. We know that anytime we add a number to the end of a function, so let's say we go -2. From a quadratic, what is this going to do to the entire function? It's going to move it down how many units? 2 units. Right? Now, this could be a little tricky. You can, first of all, choose each of the points and move them all down 2 units. Okay? Or you could choose to take the equation of the axis, move it down 2 units, and then redraw the wave around it. It's up to you how you want to do this. We'll do the simplest version first, where we'll just take each of the points and move them down 2. Okay? So, since this one's at -1, we'll redraw our new one in green here. What would 2 units down from -1 be? -3. Okay. When x is 360, it's at 0. So we go 2 units down from 0, -2. At -270, we're at 1, -1. And we can kind of just follow that pattern there. 180 will be -2 again, and 90 will be -3. Where will 0 be? -2. Okay. So already we can see this wave has shifted down 2 units. And we can just continue the pattern from there. Draw that right? Yeah. Okay. So really the same idea when we're moving a quadratic, the exact same movements for a sine wave. Okay? When we have a number that's actually affecting our x value, so inside a bracket with it, let's say we do, I don't want to do positive 180, let's go positive 90. Okay? And the reason we're using values that seem to be much higher than we do with quadratic is because everything on the x-axis is measured in degrees, okay? So if we're at positive 90, what's that going to do? Because this is horizontal. Which way will it move it first? It'll move it to the left, so in a negative direction, okay? And how many units are we going to move? 90 units, okay? So we could do the exact same thing again. Take each of the points and move them to the left 90. Now, 450 will end up on a value off of our graph. Okay, 360 will end up where? At 450. 270 will end up at 360. So we're taking those y-coordinates, we're keeping the y-coordinates the same, and we're just moving along the x here. -180 will be at, there you go, -90, we'll be at -180, and 0 at -90. So, to start, if you notice, this graph has shifted 90 units or 90 degrees to the left. And then again, you can continue that same pattern, just shifting everything 90 units to the left. Okay? And what about 450? What will 450 be in this case?
0.
That's right. We'll continue that pattern. Because we don't have anything to go off of, we continue what we think the wave will do. And we end up at 0 here. So, as a general recap, we'll write a couple rules at the bottom. Okay? Write a couple rules at the bottom. So, when we're dealing with sine y equals sine x plus d, when d is positive, we move it up. And And when D is in a negative value, we move it down. And we're dealing with y equals sine x minus c. Okay. Now, again, remember, we're going to talk about strictly when the value's inside the brackets. So that has the opposite effect. There's vertical translations with D, horizontal translations with C. And when the number is inside of the bracket, if we have a positive C value, okay, we go to the left. And if we have a negative C value, we go to the right. That's strictly inside of the bracket. Okay, so remember, if you get a value and they tell you to put it in the bracket or into this equation, put it in first to decide whether you're going to move left or right.